Hi, I'm Chris Haigh and this is the Fiddle channel, and today we're going to play I Can't Give You Anything But Love. I Can't Give You Anything But Love is a lovely, slow Gypsy Jazz tune written by Jimmy McHugh and Dorothy Fields in 1928. It was recorded by Django in 1936, and he recorded it really quite slow. There are some Grappelli recordings where he plays it more up-tempo, but we're going to play it at this nice slow tempo. I'm going to show you the simple melody at the beginning. I'm going to give you some ideas for how you can decorate that melody, and then some ideas for solos, including doubling up the tempo, playing up in 6th position, what to do with the C-sharp diminished, and how to follow the 7th chords as they appear. But let's start out with the basic melody, more or less as written. Now, before you tell me, I'll tell you that version stinks. That's how a classical player might approach it. Although a classical player would have a nicer tone, but that's all they would have. Look at the first 2 bars, for example. You have 8 crotchets in a row. And let's say you were doing your grade 8 violin jazz GCSE or whatever it might be. You'd have failed already. So that is simply not good enough to play equal notes like that. So you've got to find ways to make that phrase interesting. And I could do that an infinite number of ways pretty well. You've got to have some gaps, you've got to have some notes that you emphasize, some notes that you slur possibly, but you've really got to make it more interesting. One of the simplest ways is to break up crotchets. Not all of them, but some of them, because without 8th notes or quavers, it can't swing. The swing comes from those quavers. So just doing that chain bowing and splitting every note is going to help it to swing, although that is still too samey. So you've just got to find ways of rephrasing all of it, really. If we look at bar 15, that could be da. Ba-do-ba-doom, ba-bam-bam-bam. And when you come back to you definitely, whatever you did the first time round, you don't want to do it the same again. So maybe we won't have a stop at the beginning. Something like that, and then all sorts of different ways of doing it, but you've got to rephrase it. I'm just going to play it again, and I will again stick close to the melody, but this time all of those crotchets are going to be in one way or another altered. It's very common with tunes like this for there to be quite long sections, maybe 1, 2, 3 bars at the end of each line. Like there, for example, where you could completely leave the melody behind. So going from bar 9. You could do something like that, and same for the last 2 bars. Now, when it comes to the solo, one great thing about having a nice slow tempo like this is you can do the doubling up. So just listen to the normal tempo. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, da, da, ga, da. So the swung notes are 8s, which are. But if you double it up, then it'll be da ba do ba da da ba do ba da da da. I'm going to do it on the D7. I'll do it again here. So it's a lot of fun, it really livens things up, but do it soft and gentle, not aggressively. And when you're doing these, the 16ths now, you can either play them, you can either do them even, or you can do them da-ba-doo-ba-da-da-da-da, slightly swung. And the faster it gets, the harder it will be to actually swing those 16th notes. But it doesn't really matter whether they're swung or straight, I don't think. Okay, if you listen to Grappelli's recording of this, one thing he does is go up into 6th position, which is quite nice. He does it a lot, going into high positions. And to get there in this tune, if you go to 3rd position with your first finger, put your 4th finger down, and then replace that 4th finger with your first finger. And then you have the G major pentatonic or blues scale to play with. And you don't have to change position until you go back down again. So it's not challenging. You don't have to know the names of any of the notes that you're playing, which is certainly the case when I do this. All I'm thinking about is the position within the pentatonic scale. So I'm going to do this a couple of times. I'll go through it again and I will jump up and down. and so on. And it is important to play soft when you play high. I once went to a Tim Cliphouse workshop, a jazz violin workshop, and we took it in turns to go around in a circle playing a little phrase, and I played that, or something like that, but I played high up. And he came up with this very wise thing saying, don't play hard when you play high, because it sounds harsh. And he was absolutely right. I've always thought of that ever since. So that's playing in sixth position. We do have a full bar of C sharp diminished towards the end. When we got... Now it is possible to ignore a chord like that, but because we're going quite slow, it is nice to do a little arpeggio or some kind of phrase that acknowledges the diminishedness of that chord. So a C sharp diminished, if you start on a C sharp, you can either go up or down, and you're going up or down in minor thirds. And I find it easier to think of it as not a C sharp, but maybe an E diminished, which just gives you some idea of where to start. Because for me, starting on a C sharp, I'm not quite sure where to go next, but on an E, it's quite easy to know. So I'm just going to come into that from a few bars before. Here's the middle. Here's bar 25. So just a little swirl on the arpeggio is all you need. But it does make, it shows people that you are paying attention to the chords, and it just makes it a bit more interesting. Now, a lot of the chords in this tune are very easy diatonic chords, but there are quite a few little turning points where unexpected sevenths occur. And I think it's important to mark those. And it would be the A7 and the G7 and the E7 in particular. So for example, going from bar 9. Now here's the A7. And if you were just bluffing your way using the G pentatonic scale, then you would miss that A7. You wouldn't get the C sharp in, and you'd have no idea where you were going. Coming to bar 21. Now, this is kind of an engine. It's moving the chords around a bit towards the C. So if you can hit the flat 7 of that G, and similarly on the E7, emphasize the G sharp, then that kind of drives the thing round to the A, to the D, to the G, which is the cycle of fifths. So try not to ignore those chords. Just one more thing. In one of my previous videos, I showed you for a D7 chord that, which is a little bit more daring on a slow tune like this, but it is a nice one to do. Basically 4-1, 4-1, and maybe 4-1, or it could be 2-1. So there's a lot of outside notes there, but it works nicely. So I'm going to give you one more time round, and this time I'm going to try and do all those things. Doubling up the tempo, playing in sixth position, following the C sharp diminished, hitting those sevenths and doing that D7 lick. Let's see what it sounds like. We'll do it twice round, I think. Here's a G7. And here's the A7. Here's a G7. Here's the A7. G7. C sharp diminished. So, hope you found this useful and interesting. If you'd like a copy of the sheet music for this, then do subscribe to the channel and send me an email. If you'd like to help these videos keep coming and to get a hold of all of my PDFs and a lot of other stuff as well, then do please consider joining me on Patreon. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again soon.